Good afternoon and hello. Welcome to the official live stream of Daniel and Joe. And it is the last live stream in this year, 2020. Looking forward so much for 2021. This live stream is worth at least $4,000 giveaway. So stick with us. We're going to answer your questions and we're going to put the right tactics for you to feel the best. And I would like to welcome my legendary friend, Daniel Tolson.
Well, there we go. Let's just get the obvious out of the way. I'm wearing a pink jumper. Yes, and my wife dresses me, and I'm very happy about that. So, Joe, good afternoon. Good to see you there. And I love your shirt. What does it say? I heart YouTube. Oh, there we go. Mr.
That's it, my
YouTube
man.
influencer.
Yes, I was actually shooting before, so I haven't really got a chance to change and put another clothes on. So it's got on the back of it. Yes, I'm a YouTuber and I wear those t-shirts when I'm shooting outside because the people come and say, oh, why you have cameras here? What are you doing? All that stuff. So that kind of answers their questions right away, which is why I wear it. And so as my team. So we're looking forward to really end 2020 on a good note, not on a bad note. Yes, it was a challenging year, but hey, we're only a few days away. So I guess it's safe to say that our next live stream, we'll see you on the next year as a good joke. Thank you for those people who are joining us. Thank you, Hamide, for joining in. And today's topic, Daniel, give us the introduction on it.
Well, the question is, how bad do you want it? And are you willing to bleed for it? And like you said, we've just had a wild year coming out of 2020. And now you've got an opportunity to reset the clock and start again with a clean slate coming into 2021. And I believe what's happened in 2020 is we've had a challenging year, but it hasn't been all that challenging. The next year is going to be the most challenging because we're going to have to start to move towards what we want. And we're going to have a new level of desire. And so the question is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want your goals? How bad do you want to become a different person? How bad do you want different results? And so we're going to start to ask that question because I believe what happens, Joe, is we start this time of year asking, what do I want for 2021?
Yep.
And then once we start, we're going to ask ourselves a second question, how bad do I want it? And that's when the desire comes in. The goal's possible, but the desire often varies from day to day.
Right. You know, it's quite interesting then because I know that you have no idea that this video is coming. And this is the punchline of the video. What do you want for Christmas? It's actually still in production with the team. And it's one of those videos that they insisted I should make a video about, which I've never done before. But there are reasons which I'll be discussing. Will be coming on YouTube shortly. But as we say, how bad do you want it? And I guess having you, Daniel, there's another thing that I'm thinking about. There's quite a few people that are very ill-informed when it comes to reading the water. And I think having you as a champion, reading the water conditions, etc. I'm not sure if you're aware, there has been a tragic accident where 2 people have been claimed, obviously, dead just really few minutes from a selfie that they have taken on the beach. And it's predominantly because they couldn't read the water conditions and they have been swept, and then their bodies were, one of them was washed on shore less than 24 hours later, and the other one, they found it after the search and air rescue and so on. And I think coming to this time of the year, especially in Australia, and for those people who have access to beaches, it's super important to conserve the life of humans first. And, you know, I was just thinking how these people have been caught before in a very bad rip, which I haven't shared with you how it happened. It was actually with my dad. We were about 7 people swimming together overseas in Egypt. And the rip was so strong that we all got caught and we were kind of rotating. So we decided to hold hands. At this stage, I was quite young and I didn't have any training from the military back then on how to counter such a scenario. And I don't know how deep the water under us. I know that we can't reach the floor, but is it 5, 10, 20, 100 meters? I have no idea. And we held hands together, and the rip was taking us, all of us kind of linear, and we're just all rotating. But it's kind of slow rotation, so we're not really getting dizzy. And we're trying to think, okay, is there anybody out there or somebody can help us? And I think, as you said to the topic, how bad do you want it? Are you ready to bleed for it? And I think the best thing that surprises every human being from a psychological perspective is when your life gets put in a way that it's a matter of survive or die. I personally have seen myself in that situation, other situations where this was triggered. And when that was triggered, I really have done things I never, ever imagined I could do. And I guess once it comes to life and death, we really surprise ourselves. Just to end the story, there was someone outside that rip, which we kept waving to a few meters away, and they managed. My dad really relied on me. I was the only one on the edge, and there was another gentleman on the other edge, but my dad trusted me, and he said, okay, you're on the edge, you grab that rope that they're going to throw at you, and then you hold onto it as tight as you can, like your life depending on it. And then once you get there, I'm going to hold onto your leg, and I'm going to pull the whole entire crew. And this is how we survived that rip. And I'm thinking about those people who lost their life, and I got to know that 230 people per annum lose their life in similar situations. Just having you as a champion, what are a couple of signs that you would want to tell us, Daniel, when you're, how to look out for rips and things like this? I don't need to ask Google. I don't need to search. I have you. Give us a couple of tips. I'll be very, very interested to share it with the people. And it's a good deed that we can save someone's life.
Well, it's a good question, and I'm probably not the best person to answer that one because thankfully all the water sports that we did were in the river. And so at the beaches, it's a very, very different story because you can have rips that are on the surface and rips that are below the surface. And the ones that run below the surface are the most dangerous. So when we're on the river, what you would notice is that if you had fallen off your wakeboard or your water skis, when you're stationary in the river, you're not being pulled by the boat, you start to flow downstream or you start to float upstream. And the only way you can notice that is if you point or you find a specific spot on the side of the bank, like a tree or some sand. And what you'll notice is that you're moving away from that. And so in the river, it's quite obvious, but it's not obvious to see which direction the water is flowing unless there's something in it. And so you've got to be very sensory aware, and you've also got to know your limits. And so in water skiing and wakeboarding, the best thing to protect yourself was to wear a life jacket. And the life jacket was incredibly good to ensure that you kept your head above water. However, using a life jacket at the beach becomes dangerous. And so if you're out there at the beaches, make sure you just swim between the flags. And if you're putting yourself outside the flags, you want to be a good swimmer. So know your limits.
Yeah, I guess it's very important. And one of the things I personally know from fishing, that one of the most very obvious signs, which I'll share with you guys, I have been more on the beach. I have been on George's River on the jet ski. You haven't met me back then in the day, Daniel, when I was crazy, doing all this crazy wog stuff, jumping with the jet ski, taking it under the water.
Sea-doos, bright yellow life jackets.
Yeah, I was. I actually never had a Sea-Doo because I liked the Kawasaki more. It was always faster and more. The design of the hull cuts through choppy weather, where the Sea-Doo is kind of flat, so it can't really battle the Kawasaki in rough conditions. And we used to go from Georges River all the way to Cronulla and come back. So we're talking about waves. I was jumping waves roughly somewhere between the 10 to 11 meters. So precisely we're like dolphins in those waves. So if you're 30 meters apart, which is the legal distance, if you're going more than 8 knots in Australia, you can't really see the jet ski ahead of you unless they're actually on a jump. It's that big all the way. And one of the things that I know to look for, and I will share it with you guys. And again, know your limit, stick to the flags. We don't want any lives to be lost. Unfortunately, sometimes when people think they've got it, there is nobody big for the beach. Let me tell you this, not even the Navy SEALs themselves. They will also confirm what I'm saying. There's something that I have noticed then, and I've done a little bit of research just to check that my personal observation is not just something that I'm thinking is right, and it could be wrong. So basically, I have verified this. If you are looking for some kind of foamy, when the waves are, there's some foam. If there is a dark spot between them, and there is no foam there, there's often a rip down under that. This is one of the things that it has been consistent, and obviously depending on how deep this area is, how strong this rip can be. Another thing that we have learned in the training is if you are caught in a rip somehow, some way, if you are not in a very deep water, so let's say if the depth is about, we were able to dive up until 10-15 meters, and we hold our breath. I will say for an average civilian, somewhere around the 5 meters range. Leave yourself, go with the rip, don't counter it until you hit the bottom, which is the sand or the rock or whatever ground that you have. And then from there, the weakest spot on that rip. So if the rip is like my microphone here, and this is the bottom kind of thing, about half a meter from that is the weakest points all around it. So if you can then brace and then push with your feet any side, you can actually get out of the rip. Now, I have been in situations where we have done this practically and it worked every single time. Now, I haven't done this in Australia, but I'm sharing whatever I know. And if you guys thinking you're going to be hitting the water, always talk to the locals, because yes, you will find it very, very difficult, and you'll do everything, like your life depends on it. Like we said, how bad do you want it? Obviously, life of a human is the most precious thing, and you will do everything that it takes to survive. I have no doubt in this. I don't need to motivate you. I don't need to talk to you about this. It's a natural instinct. But what I want you to know is to have some tactics and strategies up your sleeve. If the situation went wrong at any stage, you're not thinking on the spot when you are under a huge amount of stress.
Well, how bad do you want 2021? That's going to be the big question now. So, as Joe said here, how bad do you want it? And what happens is when you're drowning, you're going to do whatever it takes to push off the bottom to get back up to the top and get your head out of water. And so
Correct.
2021 is coming around, and it's now time to consider your goals. It's time to consider what it is that you want for your life. And there's two things you've got to ask yourself right now is, what is it that I want? And there's three things that you can really focus on here. You can start to focus on, who do you want to become? One of the good things about having a B goal is that it's 100% in your control. It doesn't matter what's happening in the economic climate of the world. It doesn't matter what's happening inside of the pandemic. But if you decide what you want to become, that's 100% in your control. You can work on your B goals all of your waking hours. You can work on your B goals through your days off and on the weekends. And so ask yourself, what is it that you want? Perhaps it's something that you want to become this year. The second thing is you can ask yourself, what is it that you want to do with your life? Maybe after coming through the pandemic, you realize that what you've been doing for the past year, for the past 3 years, for the past 10 years didn't make you tick. It didn't make your heart sing. It didn't fill your life with joy. So you can ask yourself, what is it that you want to do with your life? And again, something that you want to do with your life is 100% in your control. You can work on what you want to do every single day. You can acquire new knowledge. You can acquire new skill. You can even change your attitude. And again, that's 100% in your control. The third thing you could ask yourself is, what do you want to have this year? Things like material possession. Maybe it's a new house, maybe it's a new car, maybe it's a lovely new handbag. But these things often have environmental conditions. Those have goals could be dependent on the success of your business right now. It could be dependent upon the economic conditions. But you can also have certain things. So you've got to ask yourself, what is it that you want? Who do you want to become? What do you want to do? What do you want to have this year? Once you've decided upon that, you then need to start to create desire. And one of the reasons why most people don't achieve their goals, in my opinion, is that they don't have enough desire. They don't want what they want bad enough. They set a be goal, they set a do goal, they set a have goal, but they never achieve it. When you never achieve your goals, it means that your levels of desire are too low. And as Joe was talking about before, you've got to fight for your life. You've got to fight for your goals. So let me ask you, what is it that you want in 2021? If you have a B goal, I want you to type it into the chat box. If you have a do goal, something that you want to do with your life, I want you to type it up in the chat box. If there's something that you want to have in 2021, I want you to type it up in the chat box. And as we go through today's live stream, what Dr. Joe and I will do is we'll start to give you some ideas and some suggestions so you can start to formulate your goals. Once you've formulated your goals, we can then start to talk about how do you build this desire? How do you create this want for what you want that's so high that that fire never dwindles, is that flame remains hot throughout 2021. And as you do that, you're virtually guaranteed to achieve your goals. So,
See,
Joe, let me ask you,
yeah, go
desire
ahead.
for you. You've done your doctorate, and a doctorate takes 7 years of study all up. Is that correct?
Well, at least.
At least 7 years.
Yeah.
How do you keep the fire burning for so long when the end seems so far away?
This is a very good question. And Daniel, I often live in the future because I don't have to just talk about postgrad. Even back in the days, high school, I always saw myself on the stage talking to people and giving them an advice on how to do things and seeing that beautiful smile that I am so addicted to on their face. It gives me that rush, that euphoric feeling when I see someone happy and I help them to actually level up their game. Just like you're raising babies up. I'm not saying that adults are babies, but I'm saying it's similar to that feeling, when a father or a mother can actually see their kids growing up and look at what they can do now versus they couldn't do that before. They get that euphoric feeling. I often live in the future, and having set myself in that future, I see what I'm actually seeing myself in the future. So for instance, before I will accomplish something, I will see myself, the accomplishment of that is happening, and then what is going on. And I know that this is not real at the moment, but I'm sort of leveraging that euphoric feeling, that serotonin rush, and all these things coming to me to keep me going. And again, I didn't want to forget saying hi to everybody. And thank you so much for joining us today, from Hamide to Susan to Derek, to everybody that is participating. Hey, Amber, Joe, Australia, you live in Australia. Yes, Amber, thank you so much for tuning in. And I want to talk specifically about this live stream here, Daniel, because we have been running this live stream, me and you, for quite some time. And we do have other commitments to do, videos, families, and so on and so forth. Yet, on a Monday at 6 p.m. Australian Standard Time or Sydney time, we are still here. And this is on its own, its commitment to the goal that we have decided that we're going to share with everybody that is going to be out there that needs that help and needs those tips that are valued at least at $4,000 per person, where they can get some tips for free. Part of this is the diligence, is the commitment, is the consistency to constantly arrive and constantly deliver what you have promised. And to put my story into more frame, Daniel, before I bought my car, I wanted to have a car. And I'm going back in the days, and it was a car, it was a sports car, Honda CRX. That was the first car. Now, obviously, I couldn't buy it, so I told my dad, hey, Dad, all my friends, I'm going to college. They all have cars, rich families. I want to have a car. My dad said, all right, no problem. If you come from the top 3, you'll have the car. So at that moment in time, all my friends are out there, they're going out, they're coffee shops, they're partying, and all I can see myself is I have to come from the top 3 to be able to get the car. And I'm looking at the color of the car. I'm seeing it. I know it's not real at the moment, but I'm just seeing it. The color of the car, how my boot is opening up, and how I'm driving the car. It looks like a spider. It was super amazingly sexy. And this was giving me the power to have the endurance to commit to keep coming at my studies when everybody else is laughing and everybody else is having their own fun, so I can come from the top three. And God have mercy upon my dad's soul. He did deliver. The moment the results came, and I can't remember actually if it was the second or the first, because there's only a couple of marks difference. I remember I was asleep, and it was roughly around 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm a late person. I like to sleep in a bit more. That was on the weekend. The results came late Friday, which I didn't know about. My dad received them. He got to know the results. And then I woke up Saturday morning. My dad was waking me up. He's like, "Hey, good morning. Wake up. I think you forgot something." As soon as I opened my eyes, I was like, he had the keys. He said, "I think those are your keys. You forgot them." And, I'm just waking up, and I have been studying and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm waking up and he's giving me those keys. I didn't really connect that these are the keys for the car. I was a bit groggy, trying to just open my eyes. And then all of a sudden, it started to connect in my head. Oh, these are car keys. Oh my God, that is the car. And I don't know how I did this karate move, when you flip your body, which I've never really done before, from the bed, and you just go, psh. Somehow, once that connection happened, I was asleep, and then I did this retracted move, and I found myself standing up, holding the keys, kissing my dad, "Thank you so much," and running outside like a lunatic, looking for the car, because I already told him the car and what I want and the color. And my dad does not fail to deliver. And when I looked at that car, all I could see is myself driving it, and how amazingly happy I'm feeling now. This is the car that I wanted. And none of these moments where I struggled and I was staying up late and studying while everybody else is partying came to my place. In my head, they were all gone. All these moments are gone just by that one moment of the glance at the car. And I thought to myself, wow, my life before is forgotten. All the struggles. And this is something that I would suggest to everybody from you amazing people here. And hello to I see Gold Dag. I don't know how to say your name, Miss Dag, perhaps. I don't know. It's a very, very unique name. I never came
Asha.
across one
Asha,
before.
Asha, Asha.
Asha?
Asha.
All right.
Turkish
So
name.
very, very, very unique name. So I guess what I'm suggesting here is for you to commit to your goal, to really want it bad, you got to live in the future. You got to see yourself achieving that. I was talking to someone yesterday. I was talking about her friend. Her friend's sister was from 4 years old saying one thing and one thing only consistently. She wanted to be a doctor. Now I'm talking about someone, that's not even a baby. Like, what's 4 years old? I don't know how to classify that. Really a dream. And she's dreaming that, playing with the kids, always playing the same role. I'm the doctor. At the age of late 20s, she was a specialist. And early 30s, she was in a very senior position running a hospital. This is how we commit to our goals. She created her goal. I want to be a doctor. I will be a doctor. And she couldn't see herself doing anything else. And all she's seeing, just me being a doctor. And this is the thing that a lot of people create goals, but they don't give themselves the opportunity to see themselves in the future when this goal is achieved. Because if you're setting goal, there will be obstacles, there will be problems, there will be etc. So what you need to do to be able to counter that, when people pull you down, people tell you you're not going to be able to do it, nobody's ever done it before, and all this rubbish stuff that we all know about, your ability to counter all that negative energy and push it away is to see yourself out there achieving that goal, whether it's learning a skill or working a personal problem that you have, or trying to capture a new relationship and learn from the past. Whatever that might be, you need to see yourself going into that and achieving it, and lock on that feeling, just like the rocket, lock on it, never let go.
Wonderful advice. Now, as you're thinking about that, what I wanted to give you today is a motivational video. I've got a video here that I found
Mhm.
on YouTube many years ago, and it's
Okay.
very motivational. It's called Welcome to the Grind. Now, as you're watching this, listen to the key words in here. And if you're a little bit like me,
Mm.
you might want to watch this one first thing in the morning. So, this is Welcome to the Grind.
Rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent.
Well,
Oh, I
it
was
goes.
like, I got fired up then.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're interested in watching the rest of this one, go over to YouTube and type in The Grind by Nike. It's a wonderful video, and I recommend that you watch it coming into 2021. But, Joe, we've all got to ask ourselves a question as we're coming into 21, and we're going to ask 2021, we're going to ask ourselves, what is it that we want? And this is where you've got to get really clear at the moment. There's a billion things that you can do on the planet, but most people struggle to do or choose one thing. And so you've got to start this journey with what we call is no limits thinking. And so what you've got to do is you've got to take a magic wand. You've got to get a magic wand like this one, and then you've got to learn to wave that magic wand. And you've got to wave your magic wand, and you've got to ask yourself, if I could be, do, or have anything that I want, what would I want? What would I choose? If there was absolutely no limits to what you could be, do, and have, no restrictions on time, no restrictions on energy, no restrictions on money, if you could wave that magic wand, what would you want? And so you've got to begin the journey with what I call is no limits thinking. And remember, you can't hit a target that you can't see. And so if you're coming into 2021 hot, which I hope you are, is if you don't start the new year with a clear direction, you'll start to fall off the path. You'll start to take the side track or the slide track. You'll start to go around the old beaten old path instead of following a path straight towards what you want. So if you had a magic wand, if you could wave that magic wand, what would you want to be? What would you want to do, or what would you want to have with your life? Because you can have anything. There's a billion things to do on the planet, but you've got to start by choosing just one. So, Joe, in 2021, what are you aiming towards? What's your be? What's your do? What's your have goal? What is it that you want for 2021?
Well, that's a very good question. And I guess my video that is coming is going to really, really crystallize that part about what I have done with the team here in Sydney. You see, Daniel, I have lived a very, very different life to many people, where I've had the civilian, I've had the military, I've had the cry, I've had the laugh kind of happiness moments. Now I have arrived at one thing that's I'm talking about for me, and I'm pretty sure and certain that there are so many people out there that are going to share the same message. You know, it's all about happiness. The problem is, for me, if I could pay my bills, if I could eat what I want, dress what I want, drive the car that I want. And I'm not going to say that, I like lavish cars, let's get a Ferrari or a Maserati or Lamborghini. It's just the car that I like, that I find it convenient, nice, comfortable for me. Then I am really set. But my biggest thing for me is to see the happiness and the smiles on someone's face. I don't have to know them. As long as I can see them happy, I feel that happiness getting transferred. As long as I can feel that I was part of their development to become that happy state that they're in, I feel that happiness too. So when the video comes on YouTube that I shared with you, it took me a whole entire day going around doing something I really hate. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm sure the ladies would love it so much. I really hated that, but I was doing it all day long, and I was living in the future, the moment that these things go to those people and how happy they will be, to help me counter that bitter feeling. So for me, I really want to get to 2021 where I can capture so many people again, like before COVID-19, where I can change their emotional state on the front. Something that probably you don't know about me, then, that I used to call people, talk to them, I leave the stage, I go down and I tell them, okay, I'm going to make you feel XYZ if you do those exercises with me right now in front of all those people. All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And people are watching, and it's a very, very intense experience, kind of very personal. I say, okay, forget about everything that we're saying. There's nobody around, just me and you. Let's do this. And I could see them saying these things when they are entering before the exercises, exiting on that state after we finish the exercises. And they have no reason to lie. I have no idea who they are. I've never met them before. And I said, if I could hold that magic wand, Daniel one, which is pretty cool. I don't know where you got it from, but it's pretty cool, right? If I could hold that magic wand with you here and do the exercise in the way that we did it, and move you from here where you started as per you to here to where we ended as per you, you have so much power within you that you are not aware of. And it is the time for you to explore that power and really put it into full gear, move on kind of mode to 2021. 2021 is a race year for you and for everybody else. If you're watching the replay for this live, what I would like you to do, apart from what Daniel said, to put in your comments what's your dream, is to put exactly your strategy in your mind. I'm not telling you share your life story in the comments. This is not what I'm saying. But what I want to share with you, something I personally have used in the past, and it worked for me. Because when we were young, I was thinking, if I'm going to have this car, if I'm going to have this suit, if I'm going to have the amount of money, I will be happy. Actually, what I was chasing all along was happiness. But I didn't know where the happiness is coming from. Maybe if I was popular, maybe if I was a minister, maybe if I was this, is that. But at the end of the day, I did not get any of that. And I became happy then when I figured out the formula. So what I would say to you is work backwards. If I ask you a question now and you answer me in the comments, if you're not here. If you're here, answer me right away. If I ask you now, 2021, would you want to be more happy than you are at this stage? Who is a nutcase in the world is going to tell me no? Nobody. So I expect you to put in the comments, it's a definite yes. So then ask yourself, all right, if I ask you in 2021, you would like to be fit and healthy, who is a nutcase is going to say, no, I don't want to be? Everybody, yes. So happiness, health, two things. I'm not going to talk about money or anything else. From these two, work backwards. And ask yourself a question. For those people who struggle to create their goals, you can use that strategy to help you crystallize your goal. Okay, I want to be more happy. I want to be more healthy. And I'm not talking about gym junkies and all that stuff. You understand what healthy means. Like you don't have any problems body-wise or blood pressure or cholesterol, whatever it might be. And ask yourself a question. Okay, what do I need to do from now going forward to enhance that? So for instance, if you said, okay, well, I need to hang out with more toxic people or with those people that I knew from before, then you ask yourself a question, were they adding to your happiness or taking away from your happiness? If they were adding to your happiness, yes, more of them will increase the happiness. If they're taken away from your happiness, then less of them will be better. So if you can crystallize that, okay, I'm looking at two things, happiness and health. How can I go up higher every single day? You'll find it much easier and very, very practical for you to start setting your goal and really achieving it. And always check your thermometer every single day. Okay, I was here. Where am I now with that strategy? And I always say, Daniel, I have been saying this statement for, I don't know, 200 million times. Let's make it 200 million and one. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In other words, whether it's an emotional state or health wise or whatever it might be, if you cannot measure where you are and where are you now compared to where were you before, you can't really detect. And I always use that wallet example, Daniel. When if I come to you, Daniel, and I say, how much have you got in your wallet, right? And if you say, well, I don't know, so I can tell you, guess what, you made more money and I actually didn't put any money in your wallet. But if you know that you have a 50 in your wallet, right, and then I put another 50, then you know that you actually made some money. Or I can take the 50s and you lose some money. But if you don't know where you are, you can't really measure it. Hey, Ben, good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ben, I'm pretty sure he would have heard this from me. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. It's, Joe Isaac, trademark, always check in with yourself. I know we are approaching the end of the live, so I have been talking a lot of, stuff on the mic. Dan, mic is yours, please.
As you transition from 20 to 21, 2020 to 2021, it's also important to reassess your emotions. One of the frustrations people have coming out of 2021 is they didn't get what they wanted. And so they have a feeling of frustration. This feeling of frustration is actually positive for you if you know how to grab that emotion and redirect it. What happens is most adults, about 84% of the population, have a feeling of unfulfilled potential. They have a feeling that they could be, do, and have so much more than they have today. And this feeling of unfulfilled potential is a feeling of frustration. And frustration has its roots in anger. And so if you're fed up with having slightly less than enough, if you got to the end of 2020 and you didn't get what you wanted, you can then leverage that emotion of frustration or anger, and you can start to use that to propel and to accelerate you into 2021. What's happened to me over the years is that I've set a lot of goals and I didn't achieve them. And what I learned was that my level of desire wasn't high enough. So instead of taking action to this level, I coasted and I took action to this level. And at the end of the year, I had to suffer that feeling of unfulfilled potential. I had to have that frustration of seeing other people achieve the same thing that I wanted. They got it. They got to experience that joy and happiness of achieving the goal, but I had to sit there on the sidelines and watch them have all the fun. And so you take this feeling of frustration and you utilize that coming into 2021 and you put that fuel in your tank and you take your levels of desires and you start to raise them up. And so as you come into 2021, you've got to ask yourself, am I willing to bleed for this goal? And bleeding is you don't have to slit your wrist for this goal. But what you have to do is you have to bleed. You have to get up early. You got to get up earlier. So maybe you've got into a comfort zone during COVID-19. Maybe you've been sleeping in. And what happens is that becomes a pattern of behavior. And so are you willing and ready to step outside of that comfort zone? Are you willing to get up an hour earlier? If you get up an hour earlier and you utilize that time to move towards your goal, you will have used an hour more than your closest competitor. Now, I'm a former athlete. There is so much competition out there. And if you're not fighting for what you want, if you don't have that level of desire to get what you want, somebody else will take it and you'll miss out. And so you've got to start to ask yourself, am I willing to bleed for this? Am I willing to reinvent myself? Maybe through COVID-19, maybe you got lazy. Maybe you stopped reading. Maybe you stopped investing in yourself. Maybe you stopped doing all of those activities that got you more experience or more skill. And so are you willing to bleed? Are you willing to get out of that comfort zone once again? Also, bleeding is bleeding financially. And there's a law of investment that says you have to make an investment before you get a return. So what are the inputs? What are all the activities? What's all the action that you have to take before you achieve your goal? And if your inputs aren't enough to get the goal, you won't get the output, which is your ability to enjoy that thing that you want to be, do, and have. So think in terms of investments. Are you willing to make a financial investment? Are you willing to learn new knowledge? Are you willing to learn new skill? Are you willing to change your attitude? And a major part of changing your attitude is freeing yourself up from your own mental and emotional blockages. Because if you acquire all the right knowledge, if you develop all the right skills, but you still have a fear of failure or your levels of desire are too low, you won't get what you want. And so you've got to think to yourself, are you willing to bleed for this? And if you're not willing to bleed for it, then don't pursue it, because you'll only set yourself up for failure. If you're not willing to bleed for it, reconsider the goal and choose a goal that you're willing to bleed for. And once you do that, you'll have more success. And as Joe said, you'll also experience a lot more happiness. So it's your 2021, and you get to design it how you want it.
And the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. Take this fireball. I know that we're approaching now the end of the live, and we're going to close soon. Thank you so much for everybody that has been with us. And let me give you a massive thunder round of applause, because no matter what's happening, you are here, you're committed, you are learning, you are listening, and it's not something that you do every day that you get something of high value. And if you do want help for people that sit in groups, you've probably never asked yourself why Canon, many hobbies, they sit people in groups. Why? Because they want the group together to grow. So they set the goal, okay, let's learn how to shoot Canon, or what are the lenses, how to shoot the right pictures, or whatever. You put people in groups. If you found yourself that you need to be in a group and interact with other people to achieve your goal, get in touch with us. Me and Dan walk you through that, and we'll tell you the process. Thank you so much for tuning in, and Merry Christmas for those who we haven't seen on the Christmas day. And I guess it's safe to say that we'll be very much looking forward to see your beautiful face, your profile picture. Next year, me and my friend here, the legendary Daniel Tolson, with his pink jumper that I love.
Mate, pink's the color of 2021.
Yay!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful end of 2020. And remember, how you finish one year is how you start the next year. So make the most of these last couple of days. Joe, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the new year. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day.